Hi everyone, how are we today? We've reached Tuesday. It's Tuesday the 13th of February, and we've got Tony and Kevin on with me, Hamish, to chat some more about Celtic. And things are a bit better. Kevin, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because it's very easy to do that when you're coming on these videos every day. There's still a lot of improvement to be seen, but Sunday was an improvement. Is that fair?
Yeah, um, St Mirren are very good in their own pitch. Have been for a couple of years now. So it wasn't a given that we were going to win there, even if we'd been playing our best. You only need to go back to the last season when they beat us fair and square 2-0, and we had a far stronger team then. But I remember in the first 5-10 minutes, I'm looking at our defence, and the defence played okay. But you just looked at the personnel,
Mad.
and you're thinking, we've got injuries to key personnel, but every club has that at some point in the season. And who would have thought that coming into the final straight, we've got a crucial Scottish Cup game, and our defence is Scales, Welsh, Bernabe, and Ralston. And I know that Brendan afterwards in his kind of spiky post-match interview alluded to the fact that Hatate and Taylor especially, and Carter Vickers will be back. But we're running out of road space. And there's a lot of, we will still have to play several crucial games without 3-4 key personnel. So in the circumstances, good win, better display than against Hibs on a not very good surface, although I don't see why, I saw some Celtic fans complaining about the surface, but Parkhead surface doesn't look too great either, I've got to say. So yeah, as well as could be expected.
Yeah, got the job done, Tony. As we said yesterday, there were things to talk about there. There was like things you could say about the performance where in the previous couple of matches we just came away from it with like no positives. There were obvious positives there. Do you sense this is a team that might kick on now? I feel like I might have asked you that question before.
Yeah, you've got to sort of turn around and think there has to be a kick-on point, or else we will lose the title and get knocked out of the Scottish Cup. So you have to think that Sunday's a good base to start, isn't it? You shook it up a wee bit, played Kyogo behind Ida, changing shape, formation, and it worked. So did he inadvertently stumble across what to do with Kyogo for the rest of the season? I'm not sure, because like you, I just love Kyogo playing as an out-and-out striker. I think that's what he is. But if it gets us over, if it's a temporary fix to get you to the end of the season, but the thing about it now is he's shown his hand with Kyogo now. If he's going to play him there, then everybody kind of knows he might play him there, So, but what I did like about that was he had that kind of free roll, and he was hard to detect and pick up, and I like that. So, but yeah, you just hope that it's a kick-on point, and you look at that defence as well, and they somehow muddled through, didn't they? And they've made a habit of that this season at various junctures. Ibrox, the first game of the season, they did a makeshift defence. They got through it. They did it on Sunday at St Mirren. So, but your heart's in your mouth at times, isn't it? You just don't want to muddle through. You want to be really confident and they kept a clean sheet on both those occasions, to their credit. So it is there. They can perform, and the manager knows that because they are good players. But I think, like everything else, I was making the point on Friday after his press conference when, Celtic, it's not really, that's that old saying, if it ain't broke, it doesn't need fixed. Celtic has been broke all season because they've had various players out, you know, and he's had to try and patch it up and fix it all season, and he's not had his true 11, has he, or the strongest 11? So at some point, hopefully in the next few weeks, we might get close to that, and that's when I think you might see them kick on.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Like the fight is there, like that,
Yeah.
and I think that's an important point, because like after that Aberdeen game, that was a question we all had. We were questioning, is the fight there? Is this season going to go off a cliff? Like, are this team about to implode? And that was a genuine worry we had. I think the last couple of matches, even though we were terrible at Easter Road, the fact we won that game, I feel has calmed my nerves a little bit. Like, Celtic aren't going to blow up this season. We might still win nothing. That's a possibility. But I think I think things are going to go down to the wire, certainly in the league. I don't think it's going to be a case of us like drawing like 4 games in a row or anything ridiculous like that. I think we're going to kind of find our form, and if we don't win the league, like, so be it. Obviously we'll address it at that stage, but the fight is there. It's the quality for me, like we need to see now, because that fight can probably only get you so far, and you will come undone in one of those games later on in the season if we don't find that quality as well. We're obviously not going to find it in the transfer window this season. So you're looking at players like Haggerty and Carter Vickers coming back into the fray. But Kevin, if we have that fight that we saw on Sunday, and we can add the quality, and players like Kyogo and Matt O'Reilly can improve their performances, and Alistair Johnson can, improve his performance once he comes back, and Greg Taylor, like, there might be something there.
Well, there was a crucial point in the game against Hibs, and it took me back to Ross County and Dingwall 2 seasons ago, and it was that tackle by Anthony Ralston, which is you won't see a cleaner tackle all season, and it he makes the tackle, he wins the ball, he lays it off to was it O'Reilly, pushes it into Kyogo, we get the penalty goal, and when Tony Ralston's in the team, and I know he gets criticism because he's not the most technically gifted of players, but my God, he gives it all. If you're talking about fight, when we're struggling for quality, and as you said, we have to show that at least the fight's there. He personifies it, and he did the same. He did the same in the cup last season against Rangers, when he had to come on and play most of the game, I think, at Hampden, and safe as houses. Same at Ibrox at the start of the season. Total fight, total passion, total determination. Nobody who's playing in his vicinity in his own team will be left wondering what is required. And nobody who's playing up against them will know that they're going to, they will know that they'll be in a game. And I'm not saying that was a turning point like the goal he scored against Ross County, but that could yet become a defining moment.
Oh, it could.
And as a defining moment, wasn't. Well, I mean, there was a degree of skill in the way he cleanly took the ball, but it just personified what we are going to have to rely on between now and the end of the season. Because I don't think, as I was saying earlier, I don't think we're going to have all of the quality at our disposal for a significant part of that 13-14 game run-in. Take account of the cup, it will have to be blood, sweat and tears.
Yeah, when you consider, I mean, I'm kind of going against some things I've said recently in the channel, but Tony, when you consider all the things that have gone against us this season with regard, and a lot of it has been self-inflicted, recruitment, obviously injuries haven't been our fault, the club, turning fans away and stuff like that. There's been a lot of outside noise this season and stuff not going to plan. In a weird way, it would almost be a pretty amazing achievement if we managed to win this league. As I say, a lot of it has been self-inflicted, so I'm not letting those who have mess things up off the hook. But in a weird way, if we manage to win this league, it would be quite a cool achievement.
It's still incredible that the last 9 games have won 8, drawn 1, and they're still top of the league. When you factor in all of this, isn't it? And the performances haven't been great. You know, they've lost 2 games back to back. You know, drawn at Aberdeen, and they're still top of the league. And you think to yourself, well, wait till we hit any kind of consistency in form. Can we do that? Can we string that over the next 13 games? That's your hope, isn't it? But it is. It's a kind of weird situation that, and they've just sort of, in a kind of Tony Larsson style, just rolled the sleeves up and got on with it, haven't they? Because the manager hasn't bleated on too much about it. You know, injuries are part and parcel of football, as Kevin said, but you know, it's real key personnel. That's 3 of your back 4 that are missing, isn't it? From Sunday, you know, 3 recognised. On you go, Kevin.
The only thing I would say about that is that, yeah, we have been, on one hand, we've been unlucky because at any given time, 3 out of our 4 probably most skillful personnel have been missing for large chunks.
Yeah.
That's unlucky. What is self-inflicted still, and we still haven't had any response to this from the club. And Brendan has hinted at it, and I'm hoping that he's having hard conversations with the club's custodians. But the reason why we've been talking about this, the reason why there's been a veil of despond over the season is because we bought 9 players during the summer, and only one of them has played with any regularity. 2 of them are shipped out on loan. 2 others we tried to put out on loan, and we're playing 3rd and 4th choice people in their positions because, despite having spent around £7-8 million, Brendan Rodgers doesn't fancy them. That's a massive self-inflicted wound, and I haven't heard anything that makes me confident that will be addressed in the summer, that anybody will be held responsible for it. Because if we do win the league, the Celtic board will do like what they did, for instance, in 86, 87, if I can go back as far as that, where we scraped home in the league in the last day, famously at Love Street. Resurgent Rangers, turn of the year, we're barely on top of the league. We go to Ibrox, get scudded 2-0, and Davy Hay says he's tried to buy in Stevie Clark from St Mirren for 300 grand and was told, if you want to buy him at that, you'll need to find the money from your own pocket. And, you know, a generation later, I still think that sort of attitude prevails at Celtic Park. Hence what happened during the transfer window, no explanation. If it goes down to the wire, we win the league, I don't expect any explanation, and I don't expect any change in that attitude, because it seems to be embedded in the DNA of the club's custodians, with one exception, which was the Fergus McCann era. Fergus McCann being, to date, the only businessman with acumen that we had, luckily for us at that time, that we had him in recent Celtic history.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a debate to be had, and there has been all season about the club doing the wrong things off the park, and that's kind of what I mean. And it's almost like it's weird that we're still talking about us having a real chance of winning this league, and I'm still backing this Celtic team to win the league, and I just really hope, I don't know. I mean, I've probably said this again already this season, but I just think after that late winner at Easter Road, there may have just been something kind of clicked there. We saw that emotion from Rodgers after the game as he kind of walked over and gave it that, and I don't think I've seen that, and he was just a bit different on Sunday as well. Tony, was he?
Saw the emotion coming out on Sunday as well with these celebrations with the Celtic supporters. It was a real we're up for this. Then he came in and he said all this stuff as well, and the subtext to that is, you want to take our title in the Scottish Cup, you better be a good team, because we're a good team. I know how to win. Trust me on this. I think that was the message he was sending out to the Celtic supporters. And I've said to you, Hamish, this is where our elite level manager will earn his money. Because if he can get a tune out of the guys that are going to have to step in and play for the rest of the season, then he will have worked wonders. He will have worked, so. But he was sort of saying, listen, I can do this. There's a lot of outside noise. As he said, he made a reference to it's a noisy part of the world, didn't he? There's a lot of noise in this part of the world.
It's not wrong.
He's not wrong. So, but I think he was just sort of saying, listen, and also it's the very same person that said, if you doubt me, on the day he was unveiled, said, I'll see you here in May. So he's going to live or die by that statement, isn't he? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's, and I think he's up for it, and he's got those players. Whoever he has to turn to, they'll be in no uncertain terms. They'll know exactly the job at hand. And we spoke about it after the Hibs game, didn't we? That was that the moment the season turned with the last minute penalty. Kevin said the actions that led up to that Ralston tackle, which led to the winning of the penalty. So maybe they have sort of come together and said, right, guys, this is it. Final push. And I would like to think that happened, and judging from the manager's celebration with the fans on Sunday and the way he handled the media, I think that's exactly what's being said and what's happening.
I've doubted Brendan Rodgers, I think 3 times this season. So the first time was at the start of the season when we went out of the Cup to Killie and then had that dire draw against St Johnstone, and we went to Ibrox, and I don't think I was the only one that day expecting a defeat, and let's face it, like a bad defeat that day, because they were in form. We had I think Scales and Lagerbielke, and at that stage Scales was someone we were really not rating at all. We won that day. Brendan Rodgers answered the critics that day. Fast forward a few months, and those 2 defeats we had in a row, again Kilmarnock and Hearts at Celtic Park, again real doubts about Brendan Rodgers, I'll be honest, and he answered them in those 4 matches before the break. And for a third time after that Aberdeen draw. There's a common theme here, but maybe some of you share it as well. I think you probably do. And during that Hibs game as well, for 93 minutes of that Hibs game, real doubts about Brendan Rodgers and this Celtic team. And I hope, just like the first couple of times, that he's going to answer them. And I guess that gives me a bit of confidence, the fact that those 2 times when things were quite bleak, and you can throw in the derby at home to Rangers as well as one of those big moments, and he's kind of come up trumps every time domestically. He's been questioned as Celtic manager, so hopefully that bodes well for what's to come. I'm going to get a couple of your comments in. Just before that, this video is brought to you by MPH Group and Navien. You know that by now. They're the wonderful sponsors. As you see, plumbing, heating, kitchens, bathrooms, that's what MPH Group do. They've got a boiler offer for you right now. I'm doing this off the top of my head tonight, Tony, because I've not got the script in front of me. Anything you want to add about the legends at MPH Group?
No, I don't have the script in front of me either, so there you go. I think you've covered it, and I think they know our feelings. I think they know our feelings towards them. The Scotland's all-trade family award-winning.
There we go.
Yeah, and they've covered all of mainland Scotland.
A Champions League outfit in the boiler.
For all your plumbing, heating, kitchen, and bathroom
awards
needs.
Winners.
Yes, they are award winners.
There we go.
So
MPH Group and Navien.
Yeah.
We do indeed. Thank you. Right, comments. Michael saying if we want to win this league, we better kick on. Is this Graham, the St Mirren fan? Graham.
Yeah, that's Graham Caldwell. Yeah.
You were too good for us on Sunday. The difference in these games is being clinical. We just don't have enough quality in the final third. I thought Scales played well on Sunday. No complaints here. Graham is a nice guy, isn't he? Wow, you weren't lying when you said that.
No, I did say that. Yeah. Good lad, and he knows his stuff as well. So, thank you for that, Graham. Appreciate it.
Andrew reckons we still seem flat. I mean, I don't think anyone's saying that we're kind of outstanding, free-flowing, all-conquering Celtic yet. I mean, we were sloppy at times on Sunday, I thought. Kind Kevin?
Yeah, St Mirren had some good chances, and yet again, Joe Hart. What about Joe Hart? You know, he stepped up, and he's had a bit of criticism, but my God, he stepped up at crucial moments in our last 3 games.
Yeah.
But the yeah, again, I think other clubs know that the defence that they're going to be up against, our defence that they're going to be up against, is makeshift, is a bit fragile, and that balls pumped fast into the box will cause us problems. And on at least 2 occasions on Sunday, that's where St Mirren got most joy. Likewise, Aberdeen. I think with the Aberdeen game, we were getting caught out grievously by long balls through the centre because Majowski will basically catch anything at the moment. He will catch anything, and it showed our vulnerability there. But there's been that was kind of tightened up against Hibs and against St Mirren. But that's where our fragility is, and that's natural, as I was saying at the beginning of the programme. When you have 4 players playing who, at the start of the season, not a single one of them would have been considered first choice in any of those positions. Other clubs now know that's where it gets some joy. But, we were looking at those 3 games: Aberdeen at Pittodrie, Hibs at Easter Road, St Mirren away. And those are three clubs who will be in the top 6, I think, at the end of the season. That was always a tough ask. And at the end of that, I think the defence, our defence makeshift though is, will have gained a lot of confidence from having negotiated them, fairly successfully, including the 2 drop points against Aberdeen, but it's Aberdeen at Pittodrie. So, you've just got to hope that this newfound or this kind of strength of will, this fight that we've been talking about, has permeated that defence. And it's like, we know we're not the most technically gifted. We know that we haven't played a lot together, but no one is going to be able to prevail against us without a real fight. So, and that's, as I said, that is what we're going to have to rely on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the players and maybe missing players. Maestro asking if we'll play this formation more, 2 in the midfield. He'll go kind of playing between the midfield and attack in the number 10. We've had our kind of conversation. Did you see the comments about Rodgers was speaking about Kyogo, by the way, and he was saying that, I don't know if you were there actually, Tony, after the game when he said it, but he was talking about Kyogo not actually been instructed to play too differently from last season. He said that Kyogo, to kind of contradict himself, he said Kyogo has maybe been told to link the play more, etc., but that the actual message of getting in behind is the same. It sounds quite contradictory to me, and certainly as a fan watching, Kyogo's playing a very different role this season to last, I would say, Tony.
Without a doubt. I mean, I read those comments. I don't think I was there when he said it, because I would have picked up on that. But he's been asked to perform a vastly different role, isn't he? Let's be honest. We know what he is. He's a quality finisher and a quality striker. And if you give him the ball in those areas where you can hurt opponents, he will hurt opponents. And he's quick off the mark as well. He's very difficult to pin down when the ball's coming across the 6-yard box and delivered properly. But he struggled for that this season. The Celtic wingers have struggled to find him with increasing regularity the way they did in the past couple of seasons, where they got a lot of joy from that trademark near post run, bang, first time finish goal. So, we've tried a plethora of wingers who still not be able to serve some. So he has, I mean, you saw him in one of the games when he was coming deep because he just wanted a touch of the ball, and he was cutting a forlorn figure in lots of games. So the manager he has changed his role. He can say what he likes. He's been instructed to do something different in terms of linking up the play and all that. But the thing about somebody was he was very quick to shunt the ball on. Actually, he did a lot of give and goes, and I quite liked that. But when he got the one chance where the ball was put in front of him, in front of goal, he inevitably scored, didn't he? You just don't lose that, because that's what he does. That's his currency. That's what earns him the money. So, as much as I liked him in the role and he played really well, like you, I'd still rather see him in the 6-yard box scoring the kind of goals that he scored in the League Cup final when Hatate fizzed it across and he got in front of the defender and scored. That's the Kyogo I love and I want to see. But if his role's been tweaked and he's asked to perform this behind a big centre forward, then so be it. But it's only a temporary stopgap measure for me.
Yeah.
You know, because I just Kyogo's a striker. End of story.
Yeah. It's one of the big disappointments this season that what's happened to our kind of talisman Kyogo from the last couple of seasons. What do you think about Maestro's point there, Kevin, in terms of the kind of 2 in the midfield, Kyogo playing in the 10? Is that something you think we'll see a lot more between now and the end of the season?
Well, Brendan Rodgers said this at the start of the season as well. Mm-hmm. If you remember, when he was asked, when it became apparent to us all that Kyogo was playing in a more withdrawn role, and I remember Brendan Rodgers saying, no, he hasn't been asked to play any differently than the previous season. If you were being positive, you would say that we now have an option. There'll be some clubs who will have to think twice about how they set up against us, because they won't know necessarily whether we're going with 2 or going with 1. But I agree with Tony that Kyogo is still the best finisher in the country, and that's with all due respect to Shankland and Majowski, who have been tremendous with their clubs. But when it comes to real quality, including the 2 goals that he scored in the Champions League, in fact, ironically, when you look back, our best performances this season have been against clubs. I'm talking about the 3 Champions League games at home, who are vastly superior to anything that we faced in Scotland. You know,
strange.
When questions were asked, always when it's almost like, you know, we know we're going to have to be on it. We know we're going to have to move the ball quickly. We know there has to be the first time combinations in the final third of the park, which unlocked that amazing goal by Kyogo against Atletico. And those goals that Kyogo scored were classics from like the last 2 seasons against the toughest opposition. And when I saw him score those goals, and I saw the way he played at home against Atletico and Lazio in particular, I thought, well, there's your answer. You know, this is what he's good at. He can do that, and we can find him in those spaces that can hurt top class teams. Think what it's going to do against teams, with no disrespect, the likes of St Mirren, Motherwell, Rangers, Kilmarnock. Well, we know what he does against Rangers. He's already scored 7 in 6 games against Rangers. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, you know, the possibility of having 2 strikers will give the opposition something to think about. But see, these last 13 games, play to your strengths, Celtic. You know, get a wee man up there, hit that 6-yard box, and have the opposition reaching for the diacam every time he does those darts into that box. You know when he plays off the shoulder, and you see the panic-stricken looks in the central defence going, where is he? Where is he? You know.
Yeah, we got a comment in there a minute ago saying we were trying to fix a problem we never had, and I think that's bang on. It's like, just I get that, you know, he does look decent and has a role to play, and it worked on Sunday. But I just still want Kyogo as that main man, and I want us like finding him in behind, and I want his confidence high because, like Tony, let's not beat around the bush. He's a guy who could fire us to this league title. Like he's that good to take a kind of struggling Celtic side to a trophy. He's done it before.
It's that Larsson-esque quality. You ask anybody that played against Larsson, right? He's running. You see, he had an uncanny ability to make himself invisible. Kyogo had the same when he was doing that. Guys thought they had him. They looked, and he was gone. And in that split second when he was gone, he was touching the ball, one touch, putting it in the net. And it's a gift, right? You can't teach that. It's instinct. It's there. And for 2 seasons, it worked brilliantly. And you were talking about him hitting the next guy to hit over 100 goals for Celtic because he was prolific, he was talismanic. And that's what you need. That's what will fire you to the title. That kind of service to him darting away, and as Kevin says, putting the wind up defences and having 2 guys to give you something to think about. And I think that's what would help Kyogo, because if the focus is on a big guy as well, there's going to be space there, isn't there? Larsson loved that. Lots of guys on Martin Sutton and Hartson, and he was just like, right, okay, cool, there, he's there, bang. It just happened so quickly. They switched on. The minute somebody switched off, he switched on, and it was like Kyogo past 2 seasons. He just had that ability to switch on when the ball came across, and you thought, is that a decent ball or not? He turned it into a decent one because he was so clever. And you just hit an area. I mean, Larsson used to just go down the wing and hit it into an area, and Postecoglou would say he should be there, and if he's there, he'll score. And it happened more often than not, didn't it? It wasn't so much an accurate pick out as it was just hitting an area, knowing that if he made the run, he would get there. And I want to see a bit more of that because, I think he's best when he's playing off the shoulder, isn't he? And I liked what he brought to the table on Sunday. Don't get me wrong. Thought he played it very well. But I think most Celtic supporters take comfort in the fact that if they see Kyogo playing at centre forward, they breathe a bit more easily, don't they?
100%.
You know, they just breathe, don't they? It's like seeing Cameron Carter-Vickers in defence. You breathe more easily, don't you? And when he's not there, you're kind of like, oh, you know. But I just think, and he's tweaked his game. Rodgers, you can't say he hasn't, but he needs to be Hamish, where titles are won and lost on these kind of 50-50s. And I think Kyogo's the man who could do that. Glad he scored. We resurgence in form could be the man to help get it over the line.
But it's the wingers as well, isn't it? Because the amount of goals, last year when they play it to the wingers and they'd be there, and that's not really happened this year, so we need more from the wingers. Bit of love for Yang in the comments. A couple of people saying Yang looked good on Sunday. I must admit I'd fallen asleep by that stage, guys, because the game was on at 1 a.m. kickoff here, so I don't know. Was Yang decent, Kevin?
He did. He was good, and that was one of my positives, that he came on to a good game in a tough fixture as we're entering this crucial part of the season. The more people who are gaining a bit of confidence at this time of the season, the better. And also falling into that category is Bernabe. You have to assume that Brendan Rodgers' man management has worked there, because us and most others were like, he needs to go during the transfer window. He's got nothing more to contribute to Celtic. But again, he's epitomised that spirit that we're going to need. He played with Verve, so did Yang. There was a confidence there. They're all fit. There's no doubting the work ethic in that squad. It's given again. It's out of adversity. There are some players that we weren't holding out much hope for who are stepping up to the mark, and Yang, based on what he did on Sunday, is one of them.
Bernabé the winger, as Tony christened him yesterday, and I think a few people agree with you there. Bit of love for Aaron Moy as well in the chat, people saying he's been a big loss this season. And someone was asking about Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor will be fit for this weekend. I would expect him to come back into the team, even though Bernabé did look, decent to good on Sunday. I think Taylor will come back in. Right, guys, we're going to head off for now. Good to chat with you both again. Thank you for your time. Thanks everyone else for watching, as you always do. Appreciate it, and we'll be back this time tomorrow. Speak to you then.